The one many of you have been waiting for, the Galaxy S24 Ultra versus the OnePlus 12. And I'll break it down like this, and this is how we're going to frame the rest of the conversation. Do I believe that the S24 Ultra is a better phone than the OnePlus 12? Yes, I like it more. There are some things I think that the S24 Ultra does better than the OnePlus 12. But here's the rub, and here's how we're going to frame the rest of the conversation for this video. Is it $500 better than the OnePlus 12? And I think if you're honest with yourself, that you're going to come to the conclusion that no, it's not $500 better than the OnePlus 12. And that's kind of where everything lands. Now, there are reasons why you'd still buy an S24 Ultra. There are reasons why you'd still prefer the software and some other things that we're going to talk about on the S24 Ultra, but those are going to be personal decisions. I'm just going to kind of outlay what I see here, and then you're going to have to decide if the things that the S24 Ultra does better than the OnePlus 12 is worth the additional $500. That's not cheap. That's not a small difference. That's not $100. That's not even $200. That's $500. Almost 60%, 55% of a OnePlus 12. So it's not an insignificant difference in price. All right, so let's talk about build. Both going to be premium. Going to come down to preference. You get the titanium over here, obviously, the Gorilla Glass Victus 2 or Victus Arm or whatever they call it now. All the fancy bells and whistles that you'd expect design-wise. Flat display, bit of a curve on the outside, so don't worry about holding it in your hand, but you do get that flat display, which I prefer on the S24 Ultra only because of the pen. If it doesn't have the pen, if we're talking the S24 Plus, then go ahead and put a curved display on it because it doesn't bother me as much. But as I talked about in the Note 9 video and a couple other videos we did in comparison to the S24 Ultra, I hate when there's some sort of curved display and I don't get to use the pen right to the edge of whatever I happen to be writing. Also, then you get over to the OnePlus 12. If you love the curved display, if you feel like there's plenty of people out there, I get comments all the time, people saying they don't think a device is premium, it doesn't feel like a high-end flagship unless it has a curved display. Well, there you go. You get the curved display on the OnePlus 12. And it's not a dramatic it's not one of those waterfall whatever that we used to get, like the Huawei P30, that kind of dramatic drop-off on the display. It's relatively tame, but it gives that impression of the waterfall or the curved display and kind of the infinite display that people like on the OnePlus 12. Let's talk about the display quality itself. Right now, the OnePlus device is poppier, more vibrant. That's something that might change with an update, but of course, we got to go by what we see right now, not what we could see in the future. But if you like that kind of saturated OLED display, then the OnePlus 12 currently is giving you that more than the S24 Ultra. For whatever reason, and both of these have been turned up to Quad HD. They both ship with 1080p as the default setting on the device. So you got to go ahead into the settings and turn up to that Quad HD. For whatever reason, I feel like the Samsung display is just a little bit sharper, just a little bit better in terms of crispness and quality and resolution. However, in terms of vibrance, in terms of the actual poppiness of the display, I think you're going to prefer the OnePlus 12 a little bit better. Performance is going to be right around the same. I feel like the S24 Ultra is a beat faster than the OnePlus 12, but that to me is more my usage and my maybe I'm not liking the software as much. I do think that comes down to a software thing. That's why you're going to notice that difference between these two devices. I think the software, Oxygen OS on the OnePlus 12, is a little bit slower than the smoothness that you get on the S24 Ultra. Let's talk about support, because I think OnePlus really missed the bus when it comes to support, and they really just kind of misunderstood what Samsung is doing with the 7 years of support. They come out, well, first off, it's odd that you have a disadvantage with a competitor and you come out mocking it. They straight up kind of mocked Samsung for doing 7 years of support, saying, well, where are you going to be in 7 years? What is your device going to look like in 7 years? That's not the entire point. Number one, I don't think it's ever a bad idea to give a device more support as opposed to less support. That was kind of an odd angle for OnePlus in the first place. 4 years on the OnePlus 12 versus the 7 years that you get with major updates of Android as well on the S24 Ultra. But it's not just about where is your device going to be in 7 years, even though, as we see with iPhone and Samsung trying to model itself, I guess, after the iPhone of Android. But you'll see plenty of people using those beat-up iPhone 8s and whatever else because they still work. And up until a couple months ago, they were still supported. So not everybody's going to buy a $1,300 device every couple of years or even $800 device every few years. So longer support is better. But the other thing it does is it creates a better and more stable secondary market for these devices. Whereas you would see a significant drop-off in S24 Ultra or the S-Line Ultra devices price-wise a year, 2 years, 3 years down the line, a significant drop-off. If they're supported and you know it's going to get the latest and greatest, there's going to be a little bit more value there, a little bit more of a hold there. So if you're concerned about keeping your phone for a few years and then reselling it, the S24 Ultra creates a more stable market for that in the secondary market than does the OnePlus 12, where you're going to see a significant drop-off like you do other Android devices because the support just isn't going to be there long-term. 2 years from now, this is still going to get 5 years of support, which is worth money. It's worth something. You know your phone's not going to be obsolete, whereas this one, 2 years, you only get another 2 years. You're not going to pay the same amount of money for that. Battery life, neck and neck. No issues. Both fantastic. You'd expect it. Both running the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. Really locked in battery life performance with these new generation of Snapdragon chips. Ever since the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 Plus, they've really, or TSMC, whatever you say, the foundry, however they're making it, whatever you want to attribute it to, they've really locked it in, and you can notice a difference with these devices. Excellent, excellent, excellent battery life. And I'm talking less than a percentage point difference between the two. I ran them both yesterday a lot, and I think at 4 p.m., after being off the charger at literally 8 in the morning, I was looking at 80% for the S24 Ultra, maybe 79%. It was so insignificant difference. Both excellent, well over 8 hours of screen on time on both. So if screen on time and battery life is your main buying option, then that's something that you want to consider. Now, recharge times, if when you do get a little low, Samsung is still woefully behind the competition. 45-watt fast charging, which is actually fast for them, which is kind of pathetic. Whereas over here, you get 80 watts fast charging here in the United States, 100 watts overseas, and 50-watt wireless charging. Your OnePlus kind of took the weakness that they, or the kind of criticism that they've had in years past for not having wireless charging and turned it on its head. It went from a weakness to not even having it to a strength. 50 watts is excellent, really good. You get really kind of real charging with that, and 10-watt reverse wireless charging, which is good because you get like 4.5 on some of these other devices, and it really doesn't charge things that fast. It's more of a gimmick than anything else. But this kind of takes it out of gimmick territory to where you can actually, if your buds are low, if your friend's phone is low, you can throw it on the back of this and actually get some decent reverse wireless charging performance. Let's talk software. Oxygen OS isn't where it needs to be. Sorry, it is what it is. I think that way. If you like one over the other, that's fine. That's going to be personal preference. But to me, Oxygen OS is a step behind One UI 6.1. Not as snappy, not as clean, not as intuitive. They need to figure out the ColorOS integration. I know a lot of people jump back at me about that. Oh, it's better, it's whatever. If you think that's fine, then you got a no-brainer conversation here. Go ahead and pick up a OnePlus 12. Cameras will throw up shots. This is before the update. This is after the update on the OnePlus 12 that improves camera and HDR, and this is before the update on the S24 Ultra that's coming out. The S24 Ultra has a habit of brightening images. The iPhone 15 Pro Max does this too now this year. It seems to be, I don't know why that's what we decided on, but it takes an image and it immediately adds brightness to it. I mean, it turns it all the way up. But the colors and what I was actually seeing, as you can see here, was what the S24 Ultra was seeing, just a lot brighter. The OnePlus 12, people are saying they enjoy the moodier image that it creates or kind of the ambiance that it creates. That's fine. But this isn't what I was seeing. It got kind of the mood better. It got the lighting better than the S24 Ultra, but the colors were off. Whatever color science they're working on, maybe I'm not seeing it, but the colors were not what I was seeing with my eyes. So, and it has a tendency to get a little soft too when you get into a darker image. So I get it. Maybe in ideal circumstances, you might like the kind of, like I said, that moody image, that ambiance, setting the mood of the OnePlus 12 image. But I'm going to tell you just straight up, I think it's a worse camera system. And I don't know why that was. I don't think that's particularly controversial. The OnePlus 12 is a significantly better than it used to be. In good lighting, it takes really nice images. I mean, it's a lot closer to the other flagships than it has been in the past, but still not there yet. So if you're a shutterbug, if pictures and stuff like that and having versatility in your camera system are the most important thing to you, then the S24 Ultra is still providing your best option, even for the additional money. But it depends on what you do. If you don't care about that, you don't care about the software, and you just want raw performance, you're a gamer, whatever else, this is going to do well. You got the double vapor chamber. You got a lot of things over here to like on the OnePlus 12 this year, especially when you're considering it $500 less. So I stand by what I said. I think the S24 Ultra is indeed a better device. I like using it more. I think it does a lot of things better than the OnePlus 12, but is it $500 better? Don't think so. Unless it's one of those things that you really, really need, then the OnePlus 12 is absolutely going to be the best value for 2024. But me, I'm still sticking with the S24 Ultra. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have that Steve-licious day.